Hey, gorgeous. Welcome to the Ready to Bloom podcast, which features interviews with inspiring women entrepreneurs from around the world. Thank you so much for joining us today. Now, without further ado, I'll hand you over to your host, Holly Wharton.
Hello and welcome to the Ready to Bloom podcast, episode 138. This is your host, Holly Wharton, and I'm back with another show with Joe Casey. So this week, we're going to talk a little bit about our top 10 tools, systems, and apps, stuff that we use to make business so much easier. We're going to talk a little bit about a simple way that you can make your inbox feel less overwhelming and make it easier for you to manage your emails. We're going to talk about 2 different calendar systems that you can use to simplify your life and why we prefer each one. We're going to talk about how to create gorgeous screen capture videos and record quality audio. We're going to talk about 2 of the probably lesser known email management systems and why we opted for these over something like MailChimp. And then we're going to talk about at which point in your business do you need to start signing up for this stuff and when it's a waste of money. So stay tuned to listen to my top 5 and Joe's top 5. Email systems, computer tools, apps, and stuff to make your business much easier to run. Hope you enjoy this episode. Thanks.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the monthly bonus podcast episode. It's Joe and Holly, and today we're going to be talking about our favourite tools and systems. This is, I don't know about you, Holly, but this is something that I get asked about a lot. Mm-hmm. You know, what do you use for your email? What do you use when you're doing scheduling, things like that? So we thought it would be really useful to dive into some of our favourites.
And talk about all the things that excite us about computers.
We are such nerds. Would you call yourself a naturally kind of organised, schedule-y type person, systems driven?
Oh, do you know? Yes and no. I don't know. I feel like I go through phases, and this is a really weird thing that I'm going to say. As growing up, and probably even in my first business, I was super, super organized, but to the extreme. And it got to the point where I realized I was just too rigid. And so I decided to just kind of relax and just be less structured. And then it all went to hell. And I went to the other end of the spectrum. And it was disaster. And I feel like for the last few years since then, I've been kind of fighting my way back to a middle ground that's kind of healthy blend of structure and flexibility. So I don't know. I'm kind of a weird one on that.
Have I asked you what your Myers-Briggs type is before?
Oh, I'm INFJ.
Okay. That explains a lot.
And I also have Asperger's, so, I think I'm naturally systems.
Yes, yeah, and kind of, yeah, I suppose that's kind of almost that kind of love of structure and that need for some structure. Okay, that makes sense. See, I'm very similar, apart from on the organised bit, so I'm INFP.
Oh.
So for those of you who don't know, in terms of Myers-Briggs, and I strongly recommend you get your Myers-Briggs done, because it's just a really, really useful tool in terms of self-awareness and understanding why you find some things easier than others and things like that. But when we talk about kind of whether you're organised or systematic or more kind of go with the flow, it's the final letter in the 4, so it's the J or the P. J stands for judging. It isn't judgmental. That's where a lot of people go, oh, I don't want to be a J. That's It's not that at all. And that just goes to, it's people who like structure, tend to really enjoy things like lists and planning and enjoy that planning process. Yes. I mean, you are a J, so you
I remember making lists of lists that I wanted to make.
Oh my God.
Yes. Isn't that scary?
To me, as the kind of the opposite end of the spectrum, that's like, what?
Why on earth would you do that?
Yes. And so, and the other end is P, which stands for perceiving, which doesn't mean that, you're really like woo and, oh, I'm really perceiving. It's more about you're much more go with the flow. You don't tend to like structure as much. You tend to prefer putting off making decisions for as long as possible, leaving lots of open space. Tend to be a little bit better at kind of reacting and acting in the moment than somebody who's a J, but also tends to be not very good at structure and planning, can feel quite restrained by planning. So as with all the Myers-Briggs stuff, no one is better than the other. They each have their innate kind of strengths and potential, I suppose, pitfalls, if you like. But what's really interesting is if you get a J and a P together, they can drive each other mad, I think it's fair to say. I can remember working with a guy who was a J. And he would have a plan for a project that would take it down to almost hourly. And I'd be like, just tell me what it needs doing and I'll make sure it's in.
Yeah.
And, people who are Js tend to have, check out progress along the way and have kind of progress meetings. And if they have a deadline, they tend to like to leave lots of room before the deadline. So they'll tend to go in well in advance of the deadline. Whereas someone who's a P will go, so long as I've got it in 5 minutes before the deadline, then, I'm on time.
I think it's a very accurate description of the two profiles.
Used to be great. I used to run MBTI sessions a lot for teams in organisations. And so we'd do kind of this really fun way of getting everybody's profile. And then the really good bit is starting to help them understand the fact that, people do things differently and it's not necessarily just to piss you off, even though it may feel like that's why they're doing it. It's just because that's how the world makes sense to them.
Yeah.
And one of the exercises we used to do was I'd divide them into groups of the J's and the P's, and I'd ask them to describe how they go about going on holiday. And the J's would be like, oh, well, first of all, and they'd all usually talk about the spreadsheets that they have already pre-made. And there would be everything from choosing the right destination to choosing what trips they go on to packing. There used to be lots of spreadsheet action around packing, have you got the passports and, and the tickets. And it would, after months of planning, they would relish it so much. And the P's would be stood in the corner of the room and go, what? I don't even understand the question. What do you mean? How do I choose where I want to go? I turn up at the airport. What? I'm missing something here. And there would just be utter bafflement on their face. One woman told me that she turned up at the airport with her 2 kids and realised that she'd forgotten to pack any clothes for herself.
Oh, God.
She'd just thrown some stuff for her kids in the suitcase, rocked up at the airport, got on the flight, and as the J's were apoplectic, and, oh my God, what did you do? And she just went, I went shopping.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's very kind of,
not that tragic.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so that's really interesting then. So it'll be really interesting to see the kind of the systems and the tools we've chosen and why. Okay, so do you want to lead with your first choice?
My first, and this is the first thing that popped in my mind when we were making the lists here, was Boomerang for Gmail. So I use Gmail for all of my email. I use, my branded emails kind of get imported into Gmail, and that's the system that I use for managing my emails. Boomerang is this fantastic app that I think it's a Chrome plugin. I don't know what the heck it is. I guess so, because I use Chrome to access my Gmail. So it's a plugin that allows you to boomerang your emails. And what the heck does that mean? So, for example, if you're writing an email to someone and you want to send it out at a later date, you can choose what date the email is going to go out. So maybe I'm writing an email now to someone who I know isn't going to check their emails, over the weekend. I may as well send it to them on a Monday morning, so I do that. Or, for example, usually I don't work on the weekends, but if I take a day off during the week, I will work one of the weekend days. But I don't want people to know that I work on the weekend days, so I'll boomerang the email to go out on a Monday. It's also a good way of, if you need follow-up from someone on an email, you can tick a little box and have it boomerang the email back into your inbox if the person has not responded to you in X amount of days. And that's really useful, so you don't have to keep thinking, I'm forgetting this thing. Also, I always use this all the time. If I've got a ton of emails in my inbox and I'm just overwhelmed because I've got, 50 emails in my inbox and I know I've only got time to do 20, I'll tick the boxes on the 30 emails that I know are lower priority and that I don't have time to do today. I boomerang them to come back tomorrow, day after tomorrow, at a later date, and that way I can only focus on the 20 that are highest priority. That I find super, super useful.
I'm really liking that idea, because I am somebody who obviously isn't very organised, and so I feel like I am constantly going, and I need to reply to that email. I need to reply to that email. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, so I find it, and it's great because the more I use it, the more I train my mind to see what's the highest priority email here and what can wait for, a couple of days. Mm-hmm. So I love it. I love it.
Okay. So that's a Chrome plugin for Gmail.
I think so. It's let's see, Boomerang for Gmail. And there's a free version, which is really good because it gives you a limited availability of stuff that you can boomerang. And if you find that it's useful and you find that you're using it, it's worth signing up for. I think it's $5 a month, and it's really, really, really good. So, yeah.
I do have the free version. I'm thinking, but I don't use it very often. And I'm thinking it's maybe because I don't use Chrome all the time. So I do quite a lot of my email stuff on my iPad and things. So maybe that's why. But I know that the whole thing around, and if you're just starting out, by the way, you maybe have, because I think back to me, if I was listening to this and I was just starting out and I was going, there's crickets in my my inbox, but honestly, you will get to a point relatively quickly where you get a lot of email noise coming through, and that may be people offering to do your SEO for you, or just kind of spam stuff, or it may be potential from clients or collaborations and stuff like that. And keeping on top of that is one of can become a headache really quite quickly. I'm now thinking, actually I do kind of carry around a lot of kind of psychic mental noise around the kind of have I remembered to do that, so I think I'm gonna make a conscious effort to use that and see if the paid version is going to be helpful to me. That does sound really useful.
I love it.
Okay. So shall I do one next?
Yes. What's your top one?
So my top one is a plugin that I use on my website, and it's called Sumo Me. And I know that if anybody who works with me, or if you're my Facebook group, know that I recommend this all the time. There's a free version, and you can also upgrade to paid versions. And basically what Sumo Me is it's a set of email collection tools that you can use your website. So it comes with a hello bar, so it's like a bar that will go at the top of your website. It will do pop-ups. It does, you can have things that will slide in. It has sharing buttons so that people can very easily share your stuff you've got on blog posts and things like that. It's really easy to use and very, very useful in terms of making it as easy as possible for you to collect emails. It syncs with an awful lot of the email programs. Highly recommend it. And so if you don't have to use all of the features of it, if you want, some people don't like pop-ups, for example, you don't have to use the pop-up feature on it. You don't, they have another one that's kind of slides in, and you can time it to how long it will do and whether it will do on every person, or, leave a 3-month gap since the last time they visited and things like that. It's really high functionality for a free app, and I think it's mega.
I like that. I didn't realize that was free.
Yeah. The only thing with the free one is it has limited templates, and you have the little Powered by Sumo Me thing on it. But it's not that expensive to upgrade. And to be honest, an awful lot of the big boys and girls in the marketing world tend to use that. So yeah, that's a really good one. Very straightforward and easy to use as well, which is always good in my book.
Yes, very good. Great. Thank you for that one.
Okay. So you next.
My number 2 is OptimizePress. I love OptimizePress, and I know that you use it too.
Yeah, I do.
Oh, I love it. I started using OptimizePress back, I'd say about 4 years ago when it was in its first version. And OptimizePress has changed a lot since then. So it's in its second version now, and it has been for the last couple of years. But it's a WordPress plugin, but it's also a WordPress theme. So you can either build an entire website on this theme, or you can just install it as a plugin to your existing theme, assuming that it is compatible with your theme that you're using, which it's not with a lot of the kind of drag and drop type themes like Divi, which is what you use. It's so easy to create gorgeous landing pages. When I first started using OptimizePress, people would compliment me on my landing pages. I remember going to like social events and people saying to me, "Oh my God, I love your landing page." What do you use for it? And I was just recommending it nonstop because it was so gorgeous and so many people were complimenting me on it, that I loved it. And then, unfortunately, I changed websites just over a year ago. Optimized Press was not compatible with it. I didn't know how to solve that problem, so I switched to Lead Pages. Used Lead Pages for about a year, hated it because it's expensive. You got to pay every month, whereas Optimized Press is a one-time fee of, I think, $99. And it's just not as easy to set up landing pages and leading page. I don't know. People love Lead Pages, and I've just not liked it. So I like
some of the features that go with Lead Pages, but I don't like I don't use, I'm a bit like you, I signed up for Lead Pages and then cancelled it after a year because I think I'd paid for it for a year. I found the landing pages themselves a bit clunky. You couldn't do things, I mean, whether they've changed it or not, it's been about a year since I was using it, but you couldn't do things like change the font size. So you would land on these pages and like all the sites would have landing pages that look the same. It was really difficult to brand and put your own stamp on it. I just found it clunky and limited. So
I completely agree. Not happy with it. And the good thing about Optimized Press is you've got this one-time fee, and you can pay an additional fee if you want support every year, and I think that's like $40. But it also comes with this thing called Optimized Member, which allows you to create super gorgeous membership sites. And it's free. You're not paying a monthly thing for your membership site. It's built into Optimized Press. So I absolutely love it. I think it's really easy to set up. I just set up my new online program earlier this month using Optimized Member. It took me like a day and a half to do the whole thing, and I built the entire website from scratch using that, and it's done and ready, and it's gorgeous. So Optimized Press and Optimized Member, I love it for the pricing, love it for the ease of use, and I love it for the functionality.
I would actually agree. I concur. I also use Optimized Press. I don't use it on my main site because the theme that I have, which I'm going to talk about in a bit, isn't compatible, unfortunately. There is a way that you can make it, but it's above my technical pay grade. And because I'm a bit like you, I was going to say I'm slightly nerdy, so I actually like having control of my own website. I like doing the design. I love that aspect of my business. So for my group program, I just have a separate domain name, and on there I have Optimized Press as the theme. I use it for the landing page. I set up a group program with Andrea Owen last year. We used Optimized Press for that as well. I use it for the membership site that I have for my group program. I agree. I love it. So much more. There's so much more functionality there. You can customize it in a way. And again, it's really easy to set up. I am not technical at all. The whole kind of, to be a coder, you need a logical brain. I do not have a logical brain. So
because you're a P.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I have to tell you, talk about the INFP thing. I was once running a training course. So there's a room full of 20 people. And we were talking about Myers-Briggs and everyone had done their types and they were getting kind of really into it. And it was myself and another woman were kind of having a discussion across the room in front of everybody else. And she was getting really excited and I was getting really excited. I was going, oh my God, we should totally do that. We should totally do that. And my co-trainer kind of said, no, you two just need to calm down because you're going off on a tangent and you need to lean into your J side to get a bit of structure and stick to what you're doing. And I came out with the words, yes, I'm so sorry. That's the P-ness in me coming out. Hilarity ensued.
Keep your penis under control.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, so anything else to add about Optimized Press?
I feel like I need to say is that a friend of mine, a friend of mine who's a web developer, is going to help me out with my new website, which is coming soon. What we're going to do is I plan to change to Divi for my main theme on my website. He's going to create a subdomain and install Optimized Press onto that. So I'll be able to use the same domain with both Optimized Press and Divi. If you don't understand what that means, but you want to do the two things, just tell your web person and they will know what to do. But I feel like I need to say that because it's a big, exciting thing for me that I'm going to be able to use Divi for my new website and also have my landing pages on Optimized Press on the same domain. So that's all I need to say to wrap that up.
Okay, so let's talk about Divi then, because Divi is a WordPress theme. So for those of you who are on WordPress, we're very sorry. you really need to be on WordPress.
Exactly.
Yeah. But Divi is a theme that is produced by Elegant Themes. And there is an annual charge for it. So I think it's like $97 and you get the choice of, I don't know, something like 40 different themes. Divi is their most popular, and the reason being so is it has this drag and drop functionality. So before you would maybe get, you would have to use website templates that would, do you want your, to have, so you've got a box on the right or a box on the left, or just so it's full screen, and it would be very limited what you could do, and there'd be kind of blocks where you can put your text and blocks where you can put your picture and things. Divi kind of revolutionized all that. Divi gives you the ability to have what, for all intents and purposes, looks like a custom built site. So it doesn't look like a templated site. You can have sliders, you can have opt-in bits, you can have any bits of the functionality anywhere that you want on the page. And if you don't do your own web stuff, then maybe just fast forward this bit. But if you do and you get frustrated with how do I get an opt-in box above the fold and things like that, Divi makes all of that just so easy to do. And the websites that you can produce with are really beautiful as well. That it genuinely has a really nice design aesthetic. You don't need to be a web designer to make a really beautiful, highly functioning site. And for me, I am somebody who the whole kind of branding of my business is a really important creative aspect of it. It's an extension of me, and so I was able to build this really beautiful site, which I get regularly asked, who does your web design for you? And I do it myself, and I'm not a designer, and I'm really not a designer. But I was able to do that really quickly and easily using Divi, and so I heart it a lot.
Good. I love that.
The only thing is it's not compatible with a certain number of plugins, but that's like OptimizePress. That's the only drawback with it that I've found.
What are the other plugins that are kind of the big ones that it might not be compatible with?
I think there's one of the caching plugins that it doesn't play nicely with so well. But OptimizePress tends to be the main one. Yeah. That's the main one that people have issues with, which is a shame. There is a way around it, but you do need a web person to be able to do that. But other than that, it has really good security, so I believe. So they say, and there are just so many permutations that you can pick any colour that you want. You can have all kinds of things. In fact, the only thing with it is that there's so many options. So I suppose if you haven't got that design aesthetic, if you haven't got that, I know what I want it to look like and things like that, then you might get a bit overwhelmed using it, because, you can choose whatever cover you want for your header and, have pictures coming in or not. And but it also comes with some nice templates that kind of are pre-done for you to give you some idea of how you might want to structure your pages. But yeah, I love it. It's really easy to use. I was really pleased when I switched over to it.
Great. Thank you for that. And I'm very excited to build my new website in Divi.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing it. So go on, your next one then.
Next one is Time Trade. And I know that we're going to discuss a couple of different calendar systems. I've been using Time Trade probably for 2 or 3 years now. I am not 100% happy with it, but I do love it enough to keep using it. And every time I kind of do research into a different calendar system, I keep sticking with Time Trade. The only thing I don't like about it is that it has no function to remind people of their appointment, which I know that your system does. But a lot of people, it surprises me how many people who are, just getting started in business have not come across this possibility of setting up an online calendar and having people, click a link to book into your calendar. It saves you all that time of going back and forth with emails. Can you do this day at this time? No. Can you do that? No. Can you do this? No. It's just so much easier. You send them a link. You set up all of your times that you're available. You can synchronize it with your Google Calendar or whatever calendar you use to manage your schedule. And that's it. It's so fantastic for having people book into your system. And, it takes care of time zones for you. So if you've ever tried to arrange a Skype call with a client or a friend in another part of the world and messed up the time zones, forget about that, because Time Trade or other calendar systems will take care of that for you. And it also knows about daylight savings time and when different countries change to daylight savings time, so you don't even need to think about that. I love time trade. 95% happy with it. But as I said, not, upset with it enough to change because most of the time people tend to remember when they have calls with me. It's just every once in a while someone will miss a call and I'll be like, if you add a reminder, maybe you would have shown up. But yeah, so 95% happy with time trade. Love it.
Okay, so I'm now going to try and convince you
good
to switch from time trade to acuity scheduling.
Okay.
I used to be on time trade, and I mean, so just to reiterate the point, if you're doing any service type business, please, for the love of all that is holy, get yourself an online scheduler.
Yes.
There are lots and lots of really good ones out there. Time trade and acuity are just two of them. There's Calendly is also really good. Is the Book Me or Once or there are various ones out there that are, all very robust. You want something that is going to take. If you think of the amount of hours you can waste sending emails backwards and forwards, what's your availability for Tuesday? And is that 3 p.m. your time or 3 p.m. my time? And all of that stuff. You want an online scheduler. You can even embed them on your website. So if you're in the business where people can book, intake sessions with you and things like that, people can do it directly on your website. Mm-hmm. The reason that I switched to Acuity, and by the way, Acuity has a free version, which is what I started with. Because time trade is it still $49 for a year?
It's $49 for a year, but I do think it does have a free version because I'm pretty sure I started out with a free version, realized that I liked it, and then invested. So,
right, okay.
I think it is one of the cheaper ones.
Okay, so I use the paid version of Acuity, which is $10 a month. And I love it so much. If it was a person, I would seriously consider leaving my husband for it. It is okay. So it will not only do all of your scheduling. I can have different appointment types. So there are times when I may be doing intake sessions. I might be having meetings with existing clients who are on my 3-month program. I also offer kind of one-off sessions for people. It will handle time zones. It will handle different appointment types. It will handle kind of group calls and packages and things like that. It will handle payments. So people can book with me. I can link it with my website and it will take the payment either via PayPal or Stripe. And if you link it up with Stripe, you take all major credit cards. It sends out my welcome packet. It does intake forms. I can set it to a different intake form depending on what type of appointment it is. It's the bomb. It is just so good. Oh, I can do client notes in there as well. It sends out reminders to clients. Clients can go in and reschedule if they can't make an appointment. You can set the parameters for that. So I have a no reschedule. If there's less than 24 hours to go, you have to email me if that. But if it's before then, people can go in and reschedule their appointment. It is so flexible. It's really user-friendly. It syncs with Google Calendar. So if I have non-work stuff that I want to block out some time, I just use Google Calendar for that. So like next week's half term. So I do kind of limited working hours during school holidays and things. So I can block out the times where I'm not going to be available. It will sync it automatically with my Acuity. I can do the times that I'm available in Acuity anyway. I can do different times for different appointments. It's so good. And they also have the funniest kind of help messages and email things. It's just, I love it.
Okay. I have a very good question for you then.
Okay. Cool.
At what point did you decide to switch from time trade to Acuity and why? How did you know it was time to switch your system?
Okay. Acuity from time trade for me was a bit glitchy. I have to say so. I know that some people have a few glitches with it, so it wouldn't always sync with my Google Calendar.
Okay.
So it happened twice where I was double booked for clients, which wasn't good. And I think it's to do with the way that the time trade, I don't know if they've changed it, because I've been using Acuity for over a year now, so I don't know if they've changed it, but it was that there was an app that was on your computer.
Oh.
So is it all online now?
Yeah, it's all online.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So you used to have an app, and you used to have to sync with the app on your computer. Anyway, so there was a couple of times it didn't sync properly. So that's never good if you're having to, apologise and let clients down. And then somebody in my mastermind group is a big Acuity fan, and she was just describing all the features, and she said you should really try it. So I did. And just loved it. And then saw all of the features and thought, and I can't remember what the difference is, what are the extra bits that you get if you pay the $10 a month. But I just thought, for $10 a month, basically that becomes my client hub for everything. So you can have your own login page that you send to clients. So I have my kind of disclaimer and contract on there. People have to click a box to agree to it. It handles all of that stuff. It just makes my life so much easier in terms of the systemizing and making intakes and client care much easier.
Great. Well, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So my next tool is Camtasia. I love it, love it, love it. So what Camtasia is, it's an app for Mac or a program for PC. The Mac version is actually quite a bit simpler than the PC version, but it still does so many amazing things. So it's a screen capture software. It can capture your screen and or your webcam. And so you can create videos for an online program that you may be creating, for your YouTube channel, wherever. So it's absolutely fantastic for creating videos that show. So if you're trying to do kind of tutorials, I used to use it a lot when my business was social media. So I would create all these tutorials on how to do stuff on social media, and also used it for my online program. That is the main thing that Camtasia is used for. I also use it, and this is very weird, and even the people of Camtasia have told me that it's weird because I tweeted to them once that I use it for this, and they were like, we've never heard of that before, is I use it for editing my videos. So when I create videos for my YouTube channel, I use my iPhone 6 to create them. And then I try to do them in one take. So all I really need to do is just kind of top and tail the video. If I mess up in the middle somewhere, I cut out that chunk. But I find iMovie really clunky to do that kind of editing. It's just not intuitive for me, and I hate it. And I consider myself to be someone who's fairly techie, so I'm very confused as to why I just can't seem to do it with iMovie. But I've learned that Camtasia can do it too. So I just create a new project, upload the video into there, and edit it that way. And it takes me 2 minutes. So it's absolutely fantastic. So Camtasia, I love you.
Now, I have used Camtasia, but I've only used it for kind of screenshot capture. And I used to use it quite a bit more, when I had my day job, and I used to do the, lots of kind of software walkthroughs for people and things like that. But I use it so rarely now because I'd assume that was all I could really use it for. So I'm really intrigued that you're using it for things like, your webcam and for editing and things like that. I might give it a go because actually I use iMovie and, but there are times when I'm kind of all about batch processing these days. So I'll have maybe a day of recording videos and things, and then they'll sit on my computer for weeks because I can't face the editing bit in iMovie, which isn't awful, but like you say, is just not very intuitive, and I just find it a bit frustrating to use. So it's one of those tasks I tend to put off for longer than I should. So I'm intrigued. I might give Camtasia a go and see if it's any easier to use.
Oh, well, good. Let me know how it goes.
I will. Okay. So my next one. So we've done Acuity. So I suppose on a similar vein, and this is for audio stuff. Now, obviously, you're listening to a podcast. But even if you don't have a podcast, you may have called to do audio programs. So some, you may be recording guided meditations for people, or just audio lessons or audio classes and things like that. And the program that I use, and I think you use this too, don't you, Holly, to edit any audio that I'm doing, is something called Audacity.
Yes.
Which is a free program that you can use. You can use it on PC or Mac. It's very easy and straightforward to use. My dad's just started using it because my dad is in a choir, and so sometimes they have stuff that he kind of goes and records it, to kind of practice he's in like a proper choir where they do choral music, and it's all quite complicated and stuff. And so he then edits them into kind of separate tracks. He like records a whole content, edits into separate tracks, so he can then put that on his iPhone and then listen to it and kind of practice it and all of that stuff. It's really easy to use. It's free. It's awesome. I really, really like it. Dead simple. So really, you can record straight into it as well.
Excellent.
So, a question that I get asked quite a lot is, what do you record things for your podcast on, or if I do like a guided meditation or a teleclass or something like that, what do you record that into? 9 times out of 10, I record it into Audacity.
Yeah, me too. I use Call Recorder, as you do, obviously, if it's a 2-person thing, but if it's a solo show, it's Audacity.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
easy.
Yeah. Okay, and by the way, we will... hope it goes without saying, we will have links to all of these things in the show notes.
Yes, definitely.
So, Holly, go on.
Okay, so my 5th and final top thing is ConvertKit. And this is a new thing that I've recently switched from using MailChimp as my list provider email system to ConvertKit. ConvertKit markets itself as kind of an Infusionsoft that's easy to use and more affordable. So I'm sure a lot of you have heard of Infusionsoft. It's kind of the big email marketing system that the bigger businesses use. I have not yet gotten to the point where I can afford it. And
it's like $500 a month or something, isn't it?
I think it's $300 a month.
Is it?
But it's also got like a $2,000 setup fee, and it's also really hard to use. People call it Confusionsoft because it's so hard. So you also have to hire this specialty person that specializes in Infusionsoft to know how to set up all the stuff in it. So I actually know people who've recently switched from Infusionsoft, which is a big game player, to ConvertKit. ConvertKit is super, super easy. So you can use it for, it's got landing pages, which aren't very gorgeous, but it's got them. So you can use it to create forms to help people sign up to your mailing list, and it can then deliver your opt-in gift, whatever that may be. You can create sequences of emails so that if someone signs up to your list, you can send them an email, day 1, day 3, day 5, day 7, if you've got, kind of a system to go out. It creates, broadcasts, which is your emails out to your list. You can manage your subscribers using different tags and segments. And it's got this super awesome thing where it's kind of like if this, then that, in the sense of you can create recipes where if someone clicks on a link, then you add a certain tag to their name, and then you can use that to segment them. It's absolutely, absolutely fantastic, and it's super, super easy to use, intuitive to use. It's reasonably priced. I think if you've got a mailing list of under 1,000, it's $29, which is, I think, a good starting price. From there, it goes up to, I think, $39 for 3,000, and then it goes up from there. So it's priced on a sliding scale depending on how big your list is, and I absolutely, absolutely love it.
It's really interesting. So, again, just kind of peeling back a bit, these are... so for those of you who are just starting out, if you are just starting out, I would recommend something like the free version of MailChimp. Yeah? So you want to have a way, I hope you've kind of caught onto this by now, but if you haven't, you want to have a way that you can start building up a mailing list, collecting the email addresses of people who are actively saying, I would like to get more information from you. And the probably the easiest and certainly most cost-effective way of doing that when you're just starting out is to go with MailChimp. And they have a free plan, which is up to your first 2,000 subscribers. So, and the thing about MailChimp, though, is that it doesn't have the option for you to have what they call automation. So if you wanted to do something like an email nurture sequence, so if you've ever signed up for somebody's mailing list and you then get an email, as Holly was saying, like on day 1 and then on day 3, and then, that's called a nurture sequence. And you need a feature where you can automate. MailChimp will do that on the paid version, but it's not very easy to do it.
Yeah.
So once you've been established for a little while, then I would recommend moving up to something like ConvertKit. Now, I don't use ConvertKit. I use something called ActiveCampaign, and I've recently switched from MailChimp to ActiveCampaign. Very similar to what it sounds like ConvertKit seems to do. You can, what it helps with is that if I know somebody's opted in, say for one of my webinars that might be at slightly more advanced level. So if someone's a really beginner coach, they may have opted in for some of my beginner stuff, but if they've opted in at a more advanced level, then I know that maybe the beginner stuff isn't going to be as useful for them. But I don't want to bombard my people who might be beginners still with the more advanced strategies. So I can split them off into 2 different groups and send them different emails which are going to meet their differing needs. And that's really useful because it saves people getting, just superfluous stuff in their email inbox. So Active Campaign starts at $9 a month for up to 500 contacts for the basic plan. I think for I'm just looking on the page now, it's for up to 1,000 contacts, it's $17. Let me go. For up to 2,500, it goes up to $29 a month. And there's a higher level one, and there's an enterprise level one where you can do, you have your own personalised. They will, set it up for you and things like that. But if you're at the stage where you want to do some more advanced email stuff, they are relatively new. What they're doing, the new features are really giving the big boys like Infusionsoft a run for their money. Because if you sign up for something like Gary Vaynerchuk's email list, you will notice that you get different emails at different days, and that and if you'd signed up for different products, and that's what they're doing. That's what Infusionsoft does. It will segment the audience, and they will pick up on things like, oh, this person's obviously interested in X, or they weren't interested in Y, so we'll stop sending them stuff about Y. And it just helps you to build those deeper relationships with your customers. But again, must stress, this is a more advanced strategy. So if you're just starting out, don't even think about it. Don't worry about it. Really, don't worry yourself about it.
Go with MailChimp.
Go with MailChimp, yes. So I'm aware of the time, and we've gone over our 30 minutes, or about 40 minutes now. So I thought probably time to kind of start wrapping it up. There are other things that obviously there are a gazillion tools, and probably even in the few weeks it will take us to 2 weeks it will take us to kind of edit this and put this out. I bet there'll be a whole slew of new products that will be on there. My kind of take on this stuff is not to get too overwhelmed by the new latest thing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's look at the stuff that is going to genuinely save you some time and make your life easier. Rather than, everybody's using whatever the latest thing. Because that's what these tools are. They are tools to help you. It's very easy to get to a point where you end up just getting overwhelmed by the number of tools that you're trying to use or systems that you're trying to implement. So if you have any questions about them, or any that you're kind of thinking, but you didn't mention this one, and we're aware we've not mentioned anything about social media and things like that. There are, that's possibly a whole other episode that we're going to do, being that,
do that.
Holly's background and her expertise in that. But what we've tried to do is give you things that are going to make your life easier and streamline stuff. But if, for example, you're not doing any video stuff, don't be thinking, Holly and Joe said we should get Camtasia. No, don't worry about it. You don't need it. Ditto with ConvertKit and Active Campaign. If you're just starting out, or you're not at the stage where you're wanting to do things like audience segmentation, or you don't even know what that is, that's fine. Just stick with MailChimp and stick with the free one. A tool is only a tool if it's going to help you to do stuff.
Yeah, it's not like you have a business, so you need all this stuff.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Not at all.
Exactly. And of course, if we've missed stuff off and you kind of thought, I can't believe you didn't mention such and such, then please get in touch. Let us know. It's either joe@joecasey.com or
Holly at readytobloom.com. And you can share in the comments, of course, on the show notes.
Of course. So take it easy. We're loving the feedback that you're giving us. It seems that the two of us chatting and discussing things seems to have struck a bit of a chord. You seem to be liking this. So this is good. So keep it coming, and any suggestions of topics that you'd like us to talk about, that would be awesome as well.
Fabulous.
We'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye now.
Thanks. Bye. And thank you for listening. And remember to visit readytobloom.com/138 for the show notes on this episode. You'll have all the links to all the different tools that we use, and you can check them out. Thank you very much and have a great day.
Thanks so much for listening to the Ready to Bloom podcast with your host, Holly Wharton. You can find more information about today's guests, including links for topics that were discussed at readytobloom.com. That's ready, 2, bloom.com. And if you enjoyed this episode, please remember to head over to iTunes and leave us a quick review of this podcast. Thank you so much.